Our first panelist is Mr. Professor Marjan Bojadjiev, a North Macedonian economist, a professor of leadership and organizational behavior at University American College Skopje. Since 2006, he is the director of the university. During the period 2010-2018, he served as rector of the university. Since 2017, Professor Bojadjiev is honorary consul of Hungary to North Macedonia. He has completed his doctoral studies at the Cyril and Methodist University in Skopje. He earned his specialization degree in international business management at the University of Trieste. He is not only a theoretical expert in economics, having written his PhD in economics, has seated in Skopje, Trieste, New York, and at the Harvard Business School, but also he has valuable practical insight in economics, having served, among other positions, as the president of the Chamber of Commerce, CEO of the third largest bank in North Macedonia, member of the board of the Chamber of Commerce of the city Skopje, and as a manager of companies in North Macedonia. Professor, I give the floor to you, and we asked a lot of questions, they're very interesting, of course, your answers, of course, and for the debate, of course, also.
Thank you very much. So now this should work, or? Oh, it's already there. First of all, I'd like to start with apologize to the Greek ambassador. There is on one place in the slides name Macedonia instead of North Macedonia. Please don't take me wrong. It is not for any intention, just habit from all days. So in no way I mean to interfere negatively in Macedonian-Greek relations. On the contrary, I believe that the Prespa agreement is one of the greatest things that happened among two nations. Please accept my apologies. So my first question is, can Europe be complete with a hole in it? Hole. So if you see, this is the current map of Europe. You see we're talking EU enlargement or EU integration or EU maybe completion of the process. You see in the belly of Europe, you have something which is called now Western Balkans, which never existed before Bulgaria and Romania joined the EU. It was always Balkan region. It was never Western Balkans, something completely out of the blue. So our opinion is that it's not possible to have Europe as a serious entity, as a serious unity with a hole in the belly. So about the rule of law and how do we see the situation in terms of international relations, especially with the European Union. So the moderator started with one sentence, and the differences maybe between the generations and the perceptions between Eastern and Western countries. Yugoslavia has been non-aligned country for many years. So what was happening here and why I'm using this breach of law? So rule of law means that both parties should deliver. Both parties, I mean North Macedonia and I mean the European Union. We've done many changes. We changed the constitution twice, we changed the flag, we changed the name, and that was international contract signed in 2018, if I'm not mistaken, which was endorsed by EU Commissioner for Enlargement and for Foreign Policy. And suddenly, EU does not deliver again. Now we have the decision from the Council to start negotiations, but currently it is under, let's call it suspension or prolongation because of the Bulgarian veto. So the moderator started with the saying, what's the feeling of the generation? And here we have the Bulgarian ambassador, and I'd like to convey the message. The message is terrible. For the generations from the old day, maybe there was iron curtain between Yugoslavia and Bulgaria. But for the kids today, my son spent 15 years of his, from being kid to being teenager, going to ski in Bansko and in Borovets, going to summer vacations in Bulgaria. Now he doesn't want to go anymore. He's not alone. They say, well, Bulgarians are stalling us. Why should I go there and spend money? So now they go to Kopaonik. In Serbia, they go to Austria. So it is terrible, and this is poisoning. This is toxic for the good relationship. Eventually, this will be solved as a political framework somehow. But the toxicity of the relationship, people to people, there will be stains which will be hard to erase. So enough about us. Let's talk about Europe once again, can it be complete without with this hole? And I feel that Europe is like a French cheese with all holes in it, and it does not make a serious issue. So, Western Balkans. Am I European? Is the next speaker European? The member of European Parliament from Vojvodina mentioned the Stabilization and Association Agreement. Actually, we are in many ways deeply integrated in Europe. I'm not sure how aware, but you had in Hungary the Stabilization Agreement, no, the Association Agreement, sorry. For us, it was the SAP, and it started in 2001, and North Macedonia signed the first agreement before Croatia, and Croatia is now member for 8 years. We haven't started the talks yet. Now, all Western Balkan countries, all 6 of them, have Stabilization and Association Agreement, which means that they are deeply integrated. Rule of law, foreign trade, customs union, etc. Then we have the next slides, Council of Europe, which is, okay, not the European Union, but it is the temple of the human rights. So all countries are members of the Council of Europe with the except Kosovo, which eventually will become because of the dispute with Serbia. And last but not least, and maybe the most important, is the integration in the European economy. So we are all very small countries, which means very open economies, and you see the percentages of foreign trade going to the EU. And if you add the trade in between these countries, so this is huge. So when people discuss, wow, Russia, China, Saudi Arabia, I'm not sure, it's impossible. This is integration, this is geographic integration, transport integration. People go to summer vacation in Greece, to winter vacation in Balkans. So these are the people-to-people relationships which are not political. And then we have the issue, if I'm European, then I go to the border and they say, Europeans, this gate, Marjan, that gate. And I go the gate with Senegal and Zambia and whoever else. And then you have the flag EU-EA, Confederation Helvetic, and all the others. And that's a serious issue. So, my proposal is very direct and something I actually asked in the first panel Commissioner Varhelyi, and this is, I'm writing about this for more years now, that EU should work to integrate the whole Western Balkans immediately into EEA, European Economic Area. There are 3 articles that needs to be changed, 95, 96, 128 of the of the EEA agreement, which was originally signed between European Union and 3 EFTA member states. And I will go later on just to give you one other perspective why this EEA is very important. So this Center for Social Initiative from Vienna was working this outreach research for the European Commission about the future of Europe, or how many countries will manage to join the EU until 2035. So they've started with 3 scenarios, which is scenario 1, joining the common market or the EU. Scenario 2, looking beyond the EU borders, which means Russia, China, Turkey, or whoever else. And scenario 3, putting business first. And these are the results of their scenario. And actually, they came to the conclusion that in 2035, in the best case scenario, only 4 economies will be in the EU. Serbia, Montenegro, North Macedonia, and Albania, which still opens 2 holes. 2 holes are still open, and this is Kosovo and Bosnia and Herzegovina, which are actually the most fragile. So what have you done? What have you completed the European project? I'm not sure. So the current scenario, actually, many people mentioned on the first panel the Berlin process, is putting business first. And it is one of the most important messages of the Berlin process, which I'm not sure if Hungarian public is aware, ended with the creation of Association of Chambers of Commerce called Chamber Investment Forum. And it's the only forum where all 6 chambers of commerce from Serbia, Albania, North Macedonia, Greece, Montenegro, and Kosovo are present with a seat in Trieste as a part of the initiative, and they have this philosophy called one region, one economy. And they work on many projects together under the auspices of the Berlin project, and this is very important. And then we have the next initiative, which started as very nice, beautiful initiative of Skopje, Belgrade, and Tirana, mini Schengen. So you are now Hungarians, Europeans, you forgot how easy to use your passport. I, from Skopje, start driving the car going towards Belgrade, and in half an hour, punk, you hit the border, and you wait for 2 hours border checking, and it then goes with the border with Kosovo, which is 7 kilometers from Skopje. So it is a disaster for people, for travel, for businesses. It is making the economies not working. It is making everything. There were some examples of trucks with watermelons and tomatoes from North Macedonia being sent to Bosnia, and they spent 3 days on the road. They already, the goods were not in good shape and then arrived in Bosnia. And this is a fantastic initiative, and to be honest, of course, the appeal is that maybe we can, European Union can foster this, because the mini Schengen is actually the 4 freedoms. Freedom of movement of goods, reducing the cross-border checkings, and freedom of people to work in all these 3 countries. Eventually, I hope that all WB6 countries will join. And my question is, what can EU do to maybe help us and integrate the region mostly in this area? So can the EU integrate WB6 and at the same time prepare it for the EU? Not to be misunderstood. I'm not advocating that we leave the EU path. On the contrary, I believe that EEA is the best way towards the EU, and now I'll tell you why. So this is the Chamber Investment Forum, and these are the benefits of integration of the Western Balkans in the EEA. And here they are taxatively, I've put them all together, and this is WB6 countries will become partners in consultations. So there is a feel of pride, feel of participation. Then we become access to various working committees. Then we have fully integrated in the single market. Now we are kind of semi-integrated. There are many rules which work together, but not all of them. But the most important is rule of law. To be honest, the worst performance of the WB6 countries is the rule of law, corruption, judicial system, disaster. It cannot be repaired overnight. It cannot be like tomorrow you're at the EU, you put the key and the judicial system works. It has been deteriorating for many years. Actually, if you go and see the former Yugoslavia, there are many things which are working very well because the Austria-Hungary influence, which was part in Serbia, in Vojvodina, in Slovenia, in Croatia, so part of strong administration and government which was working very well, contrary to the Ottoman rule in the, let's say, eastern part of the Balkans. And last but not least, the jurisdiction of the European law in Luxembourg. This is the court that no one mentions in our country so far. So, EEA membership is also, positive for the EU member states. Why? Currently, most likely in some states there is apprehension of admitting new member states who will take our jobs, immigration, etc. And if EU does integrate the Western Balkans in the EEA, it means that citizens of the Western Balkans have the freedom to move, to travel, to work, but not to stay. They cannot move and reside. So if I am in the EEA, I cannot come and live in Budapest like if I'm in the EU. And this is serious protection for the EU countries, especially for those who have apprehension of getting more immigrants. At the end, can Europe continue to be economic giant, a political dwarf? Can Europe suffer losing influence in its backyard towards BRICS, especially Russia and China? Look what the others are doing. So United States, the most important, of course, player in the world, but they have significant player in the region. Now there is Escobar, previously was someone else. Today he is in Skopje. United Kingdom now is not in the EU, but 2 days back, they've appointed a new special representative for the Balkans called Sir Stuart Peach, and he's a very senior official. He used to be the head of the military committee of the NATO. Is there EU representative? No. There is a commission, and the commission says, well, we are okay, we want you to join in, but the council votes. there is no legitimate representation of the European Union in the Western Balkans. Can you wait while someone else is playing in your background, in your backyard? You see the influence of Russia in Serbia and Montenegro. You see the influence of China. They have managed to indebt Montenegro to the level that they cannot sustain to be liquid in the next 3 years if they don't get European support. Even in our country, the roads are now financed via Chinese loans. So at the end, I hope that this will be a success story, but be aware that EU enthusiasm is slowing down and is decreasing. And if this is stalled, if someone says, well, you finished the talks with Bulgaria and you've been nice and we'll let you in and there is no specific date, the enthusiasm for finishing anything else will go down, and then you remember von der Leyen and her first address to the nation when she mentions that EU is part of Europe, not just the first stop on the Silk Road. So I hope that this will be a message which will be put into force and don't leave the region behind. Thank you very much.